Hello everyone, and this is the second module of our topic visual reflexes, that is pupillary light reflex. I hope you have already seen our previous module, that is visual pathway, and today we are going to discuss in detail about the pupillary light reflex and its pathway. So before that, one thing I hope everyone is clear is, so we know that in bright light there will be constriction of the pupil, and in dim or in low light there will be dilation of pupil. I hope this is very clear for all of you. In bright light, as there is more light, to reduce the amount of light that enters into the pupil, there will be constriction, and vice versa occurs in low light. Okay, so this is clear. And before going into the pathway, let us also discuss the procedure, like how the light reflex is done and what are the muscles responsible for the constriction and dilation. Okay, so this is an image of the pupil and the iris muscles. So in the iris there are two main muscles. See, first muscle and the second muscle, circular muscle and the radial muscle. Circular muscle is also called as the sphincter pupillae, whereas the radial muscle is also called as the dilator pupillae. So if you see, if this is our pupil, and around this pupil there will be some circular muscles. In this way, they are arranged in some circular fashion. This is called as the circular muscle or the sphincter pupillae. And around the circular muscle, there will be other kind of muscles. That is, they are arranged in a radial fashion like this, in a spoke-like appearance. These are called as the radial muscle or the dilator pupillae. And when this circular muscle constricts, okay, when this circular muscle constricts, this leads to meiosis or the constriction of the pupil. When this radial muscle constricts, this leads to dilation or mydriasis. Okay, so when this radial muscle constricts, if you clearly observe the pattern of the direction, so when they constrict, the muscles move in this direction, so that means the opening will be increased, whereas the circular muscles, they move in this direction, that means the opening will be closed. So this is clear for every one of you. Now let us go into the procedure of the light reflex. See, this is a procedure. So this is a dark room procedure. So this test has to be done in a dark room, and we need a torch light, and the hand must be placed like this in between the two eyes to allow the to prevent the entry of light into the other eye. Okay, so let us say this is your right eye and this is your left eye. When you throw light on the left eye, along with the constriction of the pupil in the left eye, there will also be the constriction of the pupil in the right eye. Like how this is happening? So when you're throwing on the left eye, light on the left eye, then constriction should happen only in the left eye. Why is the constriction happening in the right eye? So this is we will discuss now. Okay, so constriction of the pupil of the same eye in which the light is thrown is called as the direct light reflex. Okay, and constriction of the pupil in the opposite eye is called as indirect light reflex or consensual light reflex. If it occurs in the same eye, it is direct, and if it occurs in the opposite eye, it is consensual light reflex. Now let us go into the pathway. So this is our pupillary pathway. This is the right eye and this is the left eye. We are throwing light on the left eye now. Say we are throwing light on the left eye. Now I hope you have read the visual pathway. The impulse is collected by the optic nerve. See here, the first we'll be having optic disc, and then it travels to the optic nerve, and then it reaches the optic chiasma. This is very similar to that of the visual pathway. Up till now it is similar to the visual pathway, and from now it changes. So from the optic tract, what comes after the optic chiasma? Optic tract. So from the optic tract, certain fibers get separated before they reach the lateral geniculate body. So if you remember the visual pathway, once again I am revising it for you. We have the optic nerve, optic chiasm, optic tract, and then what will come next to optic tract? Yeah, very good. Some of you are saying it is lateral geniculate body. So the same thing will be very similar in visual pupillary pathway also, up till optic tract. See, optic nerve, chiasm, and optic tract. From the optic tract, before reaching the lateral geniculate body, certain fibers get separated from the optic tract. These are called as the pupillomotor fibers. Why are they called as the pupillomotor fibers? Because they control the action of the pupil, whether to constrict or to dilate. These pupillomotor fibers, which have been separated from the optic tract, I am highlighting this. Can you see? Okay, these are the pupillomotor fibers. Instead of reaching into the lateral geniculate body, they reach the pretectal nucleus. See, pretectal nucleus. Are you able to appreciate the pretectal nucleus? After reaching the pretectal nucleus, from the pretectal nucleus, internuncial neurons start to arise. Okay, see, this is the pretectal nucleus, and from the pretectal nucleus internuncial neurons are arising. So as you can see, there are two internuncial neurons. Why there are two internuncial neurons? These two internuncial neurons will reach the Edinger Westphal nucleus. This is the Edinger Westphal nucleus. Okay, so they not only stimulate the Edinger Westphal nucleus of the same side, they also stimulate the Edinger Westphal nucleus of the opposite side. Okay, once again, this is the pretectal nucleus, and from the pretectal nucleus internuncial neurons arise. They stimulate the Edinger Westphal nucleus of the same side as well as the opposite side. Okay, so that is why even though the light is falling upon one eye, why there is constriction of pupils in the opposite eye? Because the Edinger Westphal nucleus are stimulated on the both these sides. Okay, so after internuncial, it will be bilateral Edinger Westphal nucleus. Clear? And from the bilateral Edinger Westphal nucleus, so this is the cranial nerve 3. I am highlighting with a sky blue color. Bilaterally, cranial nerve 3 is stimulated. And this will land up in the ciliary ganglion. Okay, so from the ciliary ganglion arises the short ciliary nerve. This is the short ciliary nerve, and this short ciliary nerve will supply the pupillary sphincter or the sphincter pupillae. What is the action of the sphincter pupillae? Constriction of the pupils. So in this way, so from the Edinger Westphal nucleus, both the cranial nerves are stimulated from the Edinger Westphal nucleus, and they reach the ciliary ganglion, and from the ciliary ganglion short posterior ciliary nerves arises, and they stimulate the sphincter pupillae, which causes the constriction of the pupil in the same eye as well as the opposite eye. So I hope the concept is crystal clear. So the first three parts of the visual pathway are same in the pupillary light reflex. It starts with the optic nerve, optic chiasm, and from the optic tract, pupillomotor fibers will separate before reaching the lateral geniculate body, which reaches the pretectal nucleus, and then It sends stimulus to the internential neurons. This internential neuron stimulates the bilateral Edinger Westphal nucleus, which stimulate the bilateral third cranial nerve, and then the ciliary ganglion, from which arises the short ciliary nerve, which stimulates the sphincter pupillae of the both eyes, leading to constriction of the pupil. So in this we covered both the direct light reflex as well as the indirect light reflex. So this is how it is exactly oriented inside our brain. So it is very similar. See, you can say everything: ciliary ganglion, optic nerves, chias, the nuclei, everything. So cut section, like how it is exactly oriented in the brain, this is the image. And the pathway is very similar. So this is the pupillary light reflex, which is a very easy thing. If you just remember the flowchart, it will be very easy for you. And the next video will be about the lesions of the pupillary light reflex as well as the accommodation pathway. Please do follow regularly. And if you really like this, share it to your friends and subscribe your channel MediSpark. Thank you.